2024 is here, and the message from Ineos, the new people in charge at Manchester United, is Erik, tidy up your mess. You got yourself into this, you get yourself out. There's no extra help coming in from Ineos in January. No new signings coming in. We talked about the loan issues that Manchester United have got right now, the numbers, and everything is looking like, it's looking very, very bleak. Let's put it that way. Ten Hag has a lot of work to do, and he has to do it with the tools that he's already got in his box. Let's just put it that way. This is FUTV, Forever United TV. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to the live show, the first one of 2024. Hope you all had a fantastic night last night. I hope you all enjoyed yourselves, friends and family, whatever you did. Hope it went down well, and I hope you're looking at that positive outlook going into 2024. And here on FUTV, we are going to be here along with you through all of that positivity that's coming United's way. We hope anyway. Let's get into what is actually going on the first day of 2024. And we do have some breaking news that has just actually come out. As expected, like we know all the time, with the January transfer window officially opening today, Manchester United have just confirmed through all the media outlets that Donny van der Beek has gone and confirmed his move to Eintracht Frankfurt. Details of that are Donny van der Beek, loan to Eintracht Frankfurt for the rest of the season, is confirmed with Manchester United. United will get a loan fee and most of the wages covered. There is an option for €11 million buyout with 3 million add-ons as well if all performance-related stuff goes the way we hope it would for Donny van der Beek. He goes with a lot of fans' blessing, I feel, Donny. I feel like right now United fans are just looking at that and going, you know what, you've not had a fair crack at the whip. Most of the fan base would say this anyway. I feel with Donny van der Beek, it is a case of he was never going to get in the team. All we seen was Donny sat with his hood up, with his little face poking out of his hood and his hat, whatever it was, sat miserable on Manchester United's bench, watching average performances week after week after week, knowing that he isn't going to get in this team. Whose fault is that? Well, ultimately you break it down and you go, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Ed Woodward, first of all, for convincing him to stay and not move to Everton a few seasons back. And this season, you can only blame who was in charge last season as well. Also, Erik Ten Hag, which is where the headlines lead us this morning. Erik Ten Hag, I feel, right now, is the loneliest man in Manchester United. We've seen many managers before just look like lost souls on that sideline. At that dugout, stood there, and Erik Ten Hag was one of them. He was that long, lonely figure sat there drenched at the City ground, looking like he had no idea how to turn his Manchester United team around. There is a very, very interesting read I've just been through on the MEN from Samuel Luckhurst from his report, a damning sort of report from that game at the City ground at weekend, where the fans are at, where Manchester United see the future of this team under Ten Hag right now, and the losses, the personal losses that Ten Hag is taking. Now, there are many reports obviously going on. Some may be true, some may not be, but when you break it down, every Manchester United fan, with everything that we know about, with Ineos, with what's been said, with the amount of money that we've got to spend, which doesn't look like a lot, you have to come to the conclusion, I'm sure every Manchester United fan would, that Erik Ten Hag has to make good what he has got with him right now in this team, in this squad. The interesting read in the Samuel Luckhurst column from the MEN today that I read was the Antony. Antony, a player that wasn't brought in by Ed Woodward, that wasn't recruited by Manchester United, was solely an Erik Ten Hag signing. 85 million quid for Antony. This is down to Ten Hag. How does he make Antony work? He is not going to get any more backing financially from the club. Ineos have made it very, very clear that Ten Hag has to make something work. He has to change the system. He has to stop playing favourites. He has to either accept he's made a mistake with certain players, like Antony. We all know that Antony was in that team. He didn't deserve to be in that team against Nottingham Forest. Recalled for what? He's not offered absolutely anything going forward. And Manchester United's biggest issue right now, like we said last night on the show, was our goals, our contribution to the in column. Let's just say -5, fewest goals scored at this stage of a season after 20 games. Manchester United's form is horrendous going forward. Defensively, we're not fantastic. Let's put it that way. We are conceding a lot more goals, but most of the time, I feel like the defence is under more and more pressure simply because the forwards cannot put the ball in the back of the net. Make sure you do give the video a like, guys. Make sure you do subscribe if you tune in for the first time. Our first show of the year. Welcome along, everyone. Hope, like I said at the start of the show, you're all doing well. I have just put a poll up in the chat as well. This is just a general, just to try and gauge where everyone's at, where the fan base is at, where everyone in the audience is. There's already loads of people into this vote. So what is the biggest issue right now with this team? Let's forget about the club. Let's just go straight down to what we know are the facts and where the problems are that we can see in front of us. Forget about the behind the scenes stuff. Manchester United on the pitch. The team right now, I've got 4 options there for you. The biggest issue with the team right now: injuries, player performance, our expectation level, and Ten Hag. Player performances right now are coming top of that list. 56% of the audience right now are saying it's the players' performance on any given match day that are the real issue right now. And I can see that. I can get with that. I like to gauge opinions. It's like Graham, who's usually in the chat, he was talking to me. He went to the game. I like to see, because I usually go to the games, as you guys know. Obviously, I'm just refusing to pay certain prices at the moment for tickets. I just won't do it anymore. I've just made that decision this year. And I like to gauge exactly where the match-going fans are to the home-watching fans as such. I like to know what the away fans think. I know that the media are obviously there at every single game. They obviously know a lot of people within the United fan base as well. They have friends in there. And I think what was coming out of the City Ground and the general sort of consensus amongst the media was about the fans just being numb to this team and their expectations. They're being laughed at the moment, the fan base. And this is now, I feel, we're at a situation where I don't even think the match-going fans know where they are with Ten Hag. There's a lot of people who will honestly say, I don't think Ten Hag should be sacked. But in their heads, when they start thinking about it, they start going, well, that record isn't good enough for Manchester United. Them numbers don't add up. 400 million spent. Why are we not seeing any of that? Why are we not seeing any of that improving Manchester United on the pitch? Rasmus Højlund, a lot of money. He came with limitations. We knew this. Manchester United, like Gary Neville was saying after that game against Nottingham Forest, needed 2 forwards. Why did we go out and buy a midfielder that we didn't need? This is another problem right now, I'm saying, that Ten Hag has to fix. Ineos have set their stall out. We all know what's happening. We talked about their approach last night. The MEM were also reporting this morning, like a few others used today, that Raphael Varane feels like he's being pushed out. I made my thoughts very clear on Rafa last night. I feel like he is going to be leaving Manchester United. I honestly feel right now, if the right price came in, with Ineos being in charge of United and everything football matters going through them, I feel like if the right bid came in for Raphael Varane in January, he would be off. He would be gone. Manchester United right now are in no position to bargain, banter, haggle, do whatever in terms of getting player sales through the door. They're just in a position where they need to accept that mistakes have been made and we're going to have to just take what we can. So I do feel Raphael Varane is torn. I think he does want to stay at Manchester United personally, but I feel like Manchester United are making the moves to actually start pushing some of these big players out. They are offering wages and keeping the players at the club, or offers that would keep the players at the club, but also at the same time making it virtually impossible for them to actually see a long-term future at Manchester United. How long a contract length are you going to offer a 31 and a 30-year-old in Casemiro and Raphael Varane? Not much. That's the big problem for them. Where they're at right now, their offers obviously going to be better offers on the table wages-wise, and I think that's where they're going to go. Erik Ten Hag's panic buys, as people have called it, and the issues that he's got within his squad right now. This season he's made some big calls, obviously. We released David De Gea. We put Bruno Fernandes as captain. We've made big errors in the transfer market this summer. a big error in Mason Mount, which I think is another area where Ten Hag has to make things worse. If you look at Mason Mount and you look at Antony, Ten Hag signings, they're Ten Hag. Let's just say we know that the club probably wouldn't have been in for these players. Ten Hag has gone and made these happen. Break them down. We know because of Antony, Ten Hag from Ajax, all he's done in Europe is played under Erik Ten Hag. He knows no other manager. There's no way in hell Manchester United, with the numbers that Antony was putting out for Ajax last season, the season before we bought him, there's no way that with these numbers that he was putting out, that would have been a player that Manchester United would have gone, whoa, we need to get him. We need him now. The fact that Manchester United were turning their noses up at a £50 million price tag earlier on that summer tells you exactly where the club were with their transfer targets. It wasn't with Antony. This was solely Ten Hag. Who, in their right mind, would spend nearly 60 million on Mason Mount when he's got one more year left on his contract? When you've already got 3 or 4 players in your squad that play Mason Mount's position. Ten Hag. That is a Ten Hag signing. I'm not having anyone tell me, no one's convincing me that Manchester United's recruitment setup or whoever it was went out and bought Mason Mount and Antony. It was Ten Hag on both of them. 150 million quid out of the 400 he has spent, he cannot find a way to fit into this team. 150 million pounds worth of player we cannot fit into Manchester United. So my question to you guys is, where does Ten Hag go from here? How does he make good what he has made so bad in his 18 months at Manchester United? Ineos have set targets out. You know they have. I mean, we don't even have to read it. You can just tell by the moves that they're making. Anyone with half a brain can see where Ineos are going with it. We talked about their structure last night. Trimming wage bills, cutting corners where they can, making everything and turnover of their businesses that are failing, that they take over, just making them run right, making them run at a profit. Make it more efficient as such. That's what Ineos do. That is their whole model. Find struggling companies, businesses, make them work to a budget, make them work to a system, and ultimately turn them around into profit-making machines, which is what their whole structure is built upon. You only have to look into what Ineos is and what they do and the businesses that they buy. Yeah, sporting-wise, it's a totally different conversation. But right now, financially, is what we're talking about, because we want to know how they're going to affect the football side of it. Right now, the only thing we can discuss is the finance side of the football. And for Erik Ten Hag, he has blown his budget. He's done. He's absolutely finished. So for me now, and the way I look at it, and I think a lot of other people would as well, is Ten Hag has to make use of what he's already spent. He spent a bleeding fortune, let's be honest, like every other Manchester United manager. So these players, the big ones that have come into this club, the big money ones, they're all Ten Hag signings. So he has to somehow make work what he's got in this squad. And the biggest thing in all of this is Ten Hag making use of the players that he's brought in, the problems like Mason Mount. How does he work Mason Mount? Is it time to drop Bruno Fernandes? Will Ten Hag ever bite the bullet and drop Manchester United's captain for underperforming? Does Mason Mount work better there? Would Christian Eriksen work better there with a Mainu and a Casemiro, or a Mainu and another midfielder behind him? Will Ten Hag ever try anything different? There was no reason for him to play Antony on the right-hand side. Why is he not happy with Palestra? Would Palestra do any worse? Ahmad, who hasn't played for Manchester United since December 2021, comes in and automatically does more than Antony has in 3 games that he started. Erik Ten Hag has a ton of work to do at this football club, and I don't think he's going to get any help going forward. So just to summarise everything up before we move on, I'm going to get into the chat as well right now. For the start of this show, guys, obviously the January transfer window is open. Manchester United have officially announced that Donny van de Beek has left now. He has got a €13 million buyout option from Frankfurt if they want to take him on, if he does well, with 3 million more in add-ons. Most of Donny's wages in this loan spell towards the end of the season are covered. So Manchester United are only subsidising a tiny little bit of Donny's wages. That's all been broke this morning. First day of the window, as you'd expect. Donny has left the football club. One less figure at Manchester United. Let's get into the chat. We're talking about how Ten Hag uses what he's got to his advantage. 100 likes in the bag. Thank you very much, guys. Make sure you do give the video a like, everyone. We are aiming for our usual mark today. Let's get over 200. We smashed all records last night for the New Year's Eve show, and that was fantastic. But yes, back to the day job now, guys. This is where it all starts getting serious again. No rest. No rest for us as fans. No rest for worrying. No rest for Ten Hag, which is what the topic is right now. I'll just quickly go on to the poll before we move on to the chat just to see where we're at here. Well over 200 votes in here. What is the biggest issue right now in this team? Injuries are at 17%. Ten Hag is 25%. 53% are saying player performance. Expectation level 4%. I put expectation level there simply because of the conversations we've had recently with Manchester United fans. I feel now with Ineos coming in, needing to sort of accept a little bit of a downturn of what we usually would expect from a Manchester United team. We are a mid-table team right now. Facts. When you lose this many games in a season already, when you score the amount of goals that we score, -5 goal difference, we are a mid-table team. Sadly, the truth hurts, I know. And some people may come back at me and say, well, Adam, you can't expect that. You can't accept that as a United fan. I don't. This is why I lose my shit pretty much every single game. And you guys have seen it. But I have to look at it in a realistic from a realistic point of view as well, and that is that looking at the figures, looking at the maths, looking at the numbers, the league table, it never lies. If results don't go our way, say Brighton, Newcastle in their next 2 games, Manchester United will be going in to their next league game, which is a tough one against Spurs, 9th in the league, with Chelsea just behind us. Chelsea have now caught us. So you tell me, where is his team at? Where are the expectation levels? Into the chat we go. Rob, Happy New Year, Adam, mate. Loving the show. Thank you, Rob. Brilliant stuff. Players definitely letting us down, says Kaz. Morning, Adam, Kaz, and the chat. Hello, Alien. It's McDonald's open today. It is. I've been past it already, Mr. Bean. So go check it out. Get your McMuffins in right now. Injuries, says DJ John T. Erik Ten Hag, player performance and expectations. You can't pick them all, John. You can't cheat the poll and just bring all of them in. Alien says, 2 major problems, players not performing and bad manager decisions. Very true. Are the players not performing, or do they not know what they're doing? Is there no direction? The message I got from the article I read from Samuel Luckhurst this morning in the MEM was, he thinks that Erik Ten Hag is on the brink of being sacked. He's talking exactly the same way as previous managers did. His get out right now and his excuse, and he said he's not using it as an excuse, but the fact that he keeps on talking about it, i.e. the player injuries, is him really making an excuse for poor performances. What are the injuries coming back? Like I said last night, and if you didn't watch last night, answer this question for me. Where are the players that are coming back from injury going to make Manchester United better? Because Casemiro was substituted off at half-time in his last 2 starts for Manchester United. Mason Mount hasn't played all season. Martinez, you've got a complete argument for in defence. But we know where our issue is this season. It's creating goals. So, in terms of the injuries, where does these players all coming back really affect Manchester United and change how we are already playing right now? I don't think there's much of a difference, personally, when I look at it. You guys tell me. Let me know what you think. Rob says, lack of effort and tracking back is worrying. But why Erik Ten Hag thinks McTominay is a holding mid is beyond me. Club's rotten from top to bottom. Nathan Miller, the players are very average, but they are not even trying. They are just greedy life in easy mode. They are just greedy life in easy mode. Everything will change as we will see in the summer. There will be a huge clear out. Dobie is free. If Varane needs to take a wage cut, then Maguire/McTominay wages need to be reduced to 5 to 10 grand a week. Dobie, we need to be realistic on this show. I know where you're going. But Maguire coming to the end of his contract. McTominay really is one of the lowest earners at the football club, so I can't even bring that on McTominay. There are certain things I don't like about McTominay, and they're pretty much all to do with how he plays and his qualities that he hasn't got, rather than his attitude or the way he is off the pitch. He's exemplary in so many ways, but one thing I do have an issue with is how managers see his qualities on the pitch. It's just not there. McTominay does not have the qualities needed for Ten Hag to take this team forward. He's a player that he needs to realise he's going to die on. He's on that sword, again, the McTominay sword, where a lot of other managers have died on. And I think Ten Hag is going down the same road. Let's just get through a few more. Lee says, I hate to say it, but Bruno is a massive problem at Manchester United and would be the first out based on high wages and zero return. Headlines, chicken goals, dried up, no assist and no positional sense. I understand the Bruno argument. That's why I've brought him in today. With what Ten Hag has got, can he change? Is there a possibility that he can change something in the way we play if he starts changing personnel? Is he going to make one of the biggest calls ever in dropping Bruno Fernandes? Is it time that Bruno Fernandes was dropped? He has just played him into form, which is not acceptable at Manchester United. He's getting frustrated. I understand his passion. I love his passion. I still think he's a United player. I don't want Bruno Fernandes to go anywhere. I think he should be playing in every game. But Ten Hag has clearly lost control of him. And this is a big, big problem for Erik now. Because I feel like he has to play him. Or he feels like he has to play him because he's made him captain. That is the only reason I think Bruno Fernandes stays in the team right now. Because like everyone else, not just Bruno, but everyone else's form is completely shot. We have got replacements for all of the so-called big players that are underperforming right now in this team. And like the fans saying they've lost that connection with the players, there is one surefire way that these fans come straight back on board with Erik Ten Hag and this team when you start making big, big calls. Super chat in. If Wigan bounce us, RIP Erik Ten Hag, it says Alien Tenno. That is our next game now. A week today we play Wigan in the FA Cup on a Monday night. And if that does not go well, I think it will. I think United have got more than enough to beat Wigan, and it's probably the right game right now for Erik Ten Hag. Maybe a cup run is his only saviour. Maybe I'm getting real Louis van Gaal vibes right now with where the season is going with Ten Hag to Van Gaal's last season at Manchester United. That's how it feels. I feel like a cup run could save him. It needs to be a lucky one, because if we get anyone in that top six right now in the Premier League, we're out. I do believe we're out. We ain't good enough. Like I said, we are a mid-table Premier League team right now, and anyone in this league can beat us. Gary Neville said it. Being inferior to Nottingham Forest is unacceptable for Manchester United. You can dominate games and lose them. You can sort of look at that as like what Arsenal are right now, dominating games but just not being able to have that finishing touch. It's a little bit more acceptable for a big team. They can turn it around. You know they can turn it around. But for Manchester United, no one sees any turnaround right now, and that's the problem. It's not acceptable to accept that you are on a level playing field with some teams. And that's no disrespect to them teams, because they deserve what they've got out of Manchester United. So, for standards that used to be set by this club, yes, that is unacceptable, but the reality dictates, and that is that United right now just have to accept they are a poor mid-table Premier League team. They're not exciting to watch. If they weren't Manchester United and didn't have that crest on their badge, no one would be watching them, because they are dull. The football is awful. There's no excitement in the game. The quality is poor, and there's nothing to really grab you and say, sit down and watch me for 90 minutes. It's not. You would turn over when it comes to multi-screen and every single game is being televised, which is where we're getting to. Unless Manchester United change things up, we are not going to be the most watched team in the league. The only reason people tune in to watch United right now, if you're a neutral, is to see the collapse and the fall and how bad we are. That's the only reason teams turn in. They don't turn in because of the quality of football. That's a fact. I can tell you that right now. Everyone's watching United to see the next circus act come out and what happens next in this saga. Apparently, we are in for Dybala again for 10 million. Apparently, every transfer window. Liam, no, there's no chance in hell under Ineos that Manchester United will be going anywhere near anyone like Dybala. Them days are well and truly done. It's good and bad at the same time that United are not going to be in for big names like we used to be. But until everything is settled and everything is in place structural-wise, don't expect them big signings to come in. So going back to what I said, let's just have a quick chat through Nyack. I'm going through the chat again, sorry. Nyack says, why does he do exactly the opposite, like playing double pivots against Liverpool at Anfield that got United a draw, but not doing the same the next game? He's always judged it off games, and I think he's been a big advocate of that, of Ten Hag. In everything he says, you have to judge every game by its own merit and its own opponent. So he is going to completely change it all the time. But then that would be, in a lot of fans' eyes, another issue, because that would be Ten Hag not having his own plan and just looking at other opposition, who is the opposition the coming week, trying to figure out what their plan is and adapt against that, rather than going with his full on, this is how we're going to play, how are you going to cope with us? That's gone from United. I think that's a big issue and a big gripe with a lot of United fans, the style of play. John O'Neill says, Bruno looked exhausted when doing his pre-match interview. He is totally overplayed, and I wonder, could it be possible they are overtraining? The overtraining thing has definitely come up in a few conversations and reports as well. That is a possibility. So Bruno is a mid-table player then? No, Lee, he's not a mid-table player. Don't try and mix my words up cleverly. You know I'm not going to fall for that. Poor attempt, Lee. Sorry. Manchester United are, and some of the players are, top quality players that would fit into other teams up there. But we're not playing, as a team, the right type of football. We're not playing top of the table football, are we? Look at what we're doing. So this is why I'm asking the question. Is it the player's performance? You've all said player performance. The poll is there. I've said, is it Ten Hag? Not as many of you are going for that. I've said, is it expectation levels? So you can't come back at me and say you're saying that Bruno's a mid-table player. You're the guys who are saying that the players are the biggest problem going off the poll right now. So where does Ten Hag change it? Bruno, I feel, has just played himself into ridiculously poor form. And he looks a lost soul on that pitch. Have we got a replacement for Bruno Fernandes? By the way, guys, let's get the likes up, please. Please do like the video. We are just closing in on 200 likes. So if you could just hit the like button now, I think we will get there very, very quickly. Thank you very much again for everyone and all your contributions to the channel and to today's video. Over 700 in the room with us right now. Bruno Fernandes, have we got a replacement right there for him? I believe we do in Eriksen, but Eriksen's playing bad. So how does Ten Hag make this work? Is it time that Mason Mount got a run of games in this team? Is this where Ineos are expecting Ten Hag to fix these wrongs? That's what we've got to look at. Kobe Mainoo, I think, has to play. I don't think we've got any replacement. Maybe Casemiro when he comes in. So for our big underperforming players, Rashford, out of the team, sorry. Højlund comes back in. No problem there. Rashford sitting out on the bench. Right-hand side in Antony, have we got a replacement for him? Yes, we have. We've got Ahmad, we've got Palestra. You could even say Marcus Rashford or Garnacho at a push. So we've got a replacement for Antony. So that's Rashford, Antony, and Bruno Fernandes all sat on the bench thinking about why I'm here. Because right now they're just walking straight back into their team. Garnacho on the left, Højlund in the middle, either Palestri or Ahmad on the right-hand side. You could have Mason Mount in at number 10, Kobe Mainoo and Casemiro when he comes back. There's another mix-up of the team completely, and it's a whole different dynamic. Yes, the problem we've got in that is that these players have never played together before. So we're not being able to build a consistent team because we're chopping and changing all the time. And this is where Ten Hag is really going to struggle with this. He's talking about balance and players coming back. None of the players coming back are really going to make massive impacts into this team. I think we know that. Yeah, Maguire. Are you going to bring Maguire in for Evans or Varane? I don't think so. I really don't. Lindelof, he's not coming straight back into this team. So for me, Ten Hag's biggest issue, I feel, is around his big players, the ones that are the mainstays. I feel like Bruno Fernandes is right up there right now as one of his biggest problems. He is his best player, but he's probably, for his standards, one of his most out-of-form players, going off what we've seen of Bruno Fernandes and what he can do compared to where he is now. And I know you're all going to come in the chat and say, well, Bruno Fernandes was never there. Well, yeah, he was. Stop kidding yourselves. Welcome to the Members Club, Rays United and John O'Neill. Thank you very much, guys. We will be starting extra members content as well this year. So stay tuned for that. I'll keep you posted in the community posts as well. So make sure you do have a look on there. And thank you very much, guys. Hope you're both having a great new year. Hope 2024 has started off for a bang for you. Donny van der Beek is out of the door, by the way. If you are just tuning in, that is the first announcement from the football club of 2024. And yeah, we are moving ahead, looking at that Wigan game as a huge game now for Erik Ten Hag. He's at a full week's preparation, no issues, no excuses. Can Manchester United, like Louis van Gaal did, can Erik Ten Hag with his team do exactly the same thing? 200 likes in the bag. Thank you very much, guys. Casemiro, old. Ericsson, old. Antony, no good. FK, yes. I understand all of that. Add a little bit more context. Who's coming in for them players? Who have we got? Guys, I'm asking you the question. What's your starting lineup for Wigan, for instance? It's a lesser team, and we've got an opportunity with a lot of players coming back. So say, for instance, we're expecting for this game to have Mason Mount and Casemiro back. With everyone that was available, including Højlund, when he's back from illness, who would you start against Wigan? With all of these players coming back, where are we going with it? Who would you play? That is the question I want to know. Get your team in the chat right now, guys. Who would you play? We're talking about mixing it up. How can Ten Hag change things with what he's got? Look at the players that are underperforming in this team, and how are we going to get around it? That's the question. We have too many low IQ players is a problem, says Guru. Good luck, Donny van der Beek. Finally, the nightmare is over for him. I agree with that one. Here to help. Liked Adam on the other channel. Thanks, Rays. Brilliant stuff as always. Loving the contributions. Dolphin B. Not my job to scout new players. Yes, but you're a fan. You've got to play the game, Dolphin. That's part of it. Mihai says, Adam, do you think we will lose Guirassy? Yes, we will lose Guirassy because United can't afford to bring in anyone right now. Even with that cut down buyout, I think United need to go for Guirassy. He's a more experienced striker and he's an informed striker right now. I've done a full video on that before on the channel. Looks like another good striker who is also cheap will be missed. This is the thing. We've not been able to spend any money unless we sell players. We are going to be down the pecking order for a lot of these players. You look now, and there's other news coming out this morning about Todibo. Obviously, we know that Spurs are in for Todibo, but Chelsea are also in for Jean-Claude Todibo now as well. So within all of these reports, we are getting confirmation that United are still scouting Todibo, but the way that Chelsea moved, the way that Spurs will probably move in the transfer window, is there any point in us scouting this player because we're not going to put an offer in and someone else is going to beat us to the signing? You can see it happening already. Manchester United are already behind Spurs in negotiations for Todibo, and now Chelsea are entering the fray. We don't really stand a chance, do we? It is a big problem. It is a big, big problem. Gavin United TV, good morning, bro. Good morning to you. Happy New Year. Why do Chelsea need Todibo? Because Chelsea just want to buy everyone nights. Mary Nelson, so many alcoholic beverages last night. That's good, though. That's what you should be doing. You should be enjoying yourself on New Year's Eve, Mary. Keep it up. Just steady on a little bit, though. Don't go too crazy. All in good quantity, as we say. Dobie, I completely lost hope in Rashford after the Newcastle game. He had 9 days off and wasn't prepared to run in the first few minutes of the match. Yes, I think I was in that boat as well. After the Newcastle game, I think Marcus Rashford, I was done. I was finished with him. I've not seen much more. I gave him a 3 out of 10 for the Nottingham Forest game, and he still scored a goal in that. That shows you how poor he was for the rest of the game. Professor Zoom says Hugo up top. Hugo is looking like he's getting a new contract as well, which is good. I didn't understand why Hugo wasn't on the bench as an option for us against Nottingham Forest. I thought that was a bit weird, crazy. Obviously, we can't just promote every single youth player, but a certain type of player, a certain character of player was needed in that game was another option. If you weren't going to play McTominay up top as a target man alongside Rashford as something different to create something against Forest, then you needed someone like that other type of striker on the bench. And we have got that in Hugo. No, he's not the finished article. He's not ready to play consistently. But he was an option that we could have used in that second half. Rather than changing things up. I'm not going to go into McTominay and Manu again, but you know where my opinion lies with that one. Alien says, my team for Wigan would be Bayndare, Reguilon, Evans, Maguire, Dalot, Manu, Amrabat, Palestra, Garnacho, Ahmad, Hoyland. My team for Wigan. Is there too many players there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. No, it's right. It's got it. It just seemed like there was a lot there. So what was throwing me out was you're playing Palestra in the hole. Are you playing Palestra in the 10 there? I think that's where he's going with that one. Garnacho left, Ahmad right, Hoyland in the middle, Palestra behind them as a playmaker, Amrabat and Manu as a double pivot / 6 and 8. You could say. I can see. It's something else. It's a completely different team. And you know what? We definitely wouldn't play the same way we played. This is where I think managers have the problem with the big ego players. It's what them big players then do if they're not picked. And unless Ineos want to fully back Erik Ten Hag in dropping players, in actually giving him the power to play whoever he wants, then he doesn't stand a chance. Ineos need to get fully behind every single decision that Ten Hag makes regarding this football team and who he picks on a game day. Otherwise, he's doomed. It's simple as that. Erik Ten Hag, if he wanted to drop Rashford, Bruno, Casemiro, players like this, Varane, the big name players, the big ego players, the ones that may possibly kick up a stink off the pitch as well, then Ineos need to be right behind and make it extremely clear that Erik Ten Hag is in charge of this team and they fully back him. So unless that happens, I think Ten Hag is doomed. Because these players, we know, because of history, that they are going to kick up a stink and they are going to cause a problem and there are going to be more leaks come out from that dressing room. Professor Zoom said Chelsea need to replace Silva. He's about 60. He's about 60 now, so not surprised about Todibo. Yes, just to confirm, Todibo now on Chelsea's radar as well. Palestria's number 10, says Alien, thank you. Sadsak says Erik Ten Hag v Wigan. Bayndare, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Evans, Dalot. Manu, McTominay, Bruno, Garnacho, Hoyland, Rashford. Stubborn. Right, okay, I got you. That's what he will play. I want to know what you guys would play, though. Tell me. That's what I want to know. Make sure you give the video a like, please, guys. We are... Let me go. Actually, just let me check. Give me an update, mods, as well, please. Let me know how many likes we're actually on. It's coming into the back end of the show now. We don't know who is available yet. No, but Red Devil play it. We do know that we have got players coming back. So, if everyone's available, what would you pick? That's what I'm saying. How can Ten Hag change it? Yes, we've said, like I've said in the poll there, injuries have played a part in this. I'm not ignoring them. And 15% of you have also said that. Over 500 votes in the poll. I'm going to close that down now. Player performance needs to improve. That is the biggest problem at Manchester United right now, according to you guys. I am slanting towards that as well myself, but I think the fact that Ten Hag and player performance takes up, 77% of the vote tells you everything. A lot of the fan base are undecided as to where the real issue is here. Is it the direction that Ten Hag is sending the players out? Is it the message that Ten Hag is putting out to his team? Do the players actually know what they are doing in this team under Ten Hag? Is there a style of play? Is there a plan? It doesn't look like there's any phases of play at all, and you've got to question Ten Hag on a lot of what happens in these games, as well as the players. And you look at the likes of Ahmad, Garnacho being flat out on the back, this absolutely disjointed, devastated that they're losing games. You look at Bruno's frustrations on the pitch. There is passion there in this team. There is real passion in this team that you know these players are hurting, and you can see it on the pitch. So a lot of the time you have to go, look, there is no direction either. There isn't. Ten Hag has lost a lot of these players. It does look that way. We've seen it before. The movie has been there. We've all watched it. We're on episode 4 right now. This same old movie. Manchester United manager, good. And then the next season, it falls off. The players start blaming the manager. Everything starts unravelling. The manager starts talking crazily in press conferences with delusional responses to reporters' questions. We've all seen it. We've seen it. And there's only one outcome. We know the ending. And that is bye-bye Manchester United manager. On to the next chapter. And rinse and repeat. So here we go again. That is Manchester United. That is the last decade of this football club. What are Ineos going to do? The only thing Ineos can do is not sack the manager. That's the only thing they can do that is different to anything that's happened over the last 10 years. They give him time to actually try and get ahead of these players. Because right now the players are winning in terms of who is going to be out of this football club. It's going to be the manager. Everything is looking towards it. Right now I don't see where Ten Hag goes. Unless he starts completely changing things. Different formations. Different attack to where he's going into games. The direction just needs to be completely switched somehow by Ten Hag. And I don't know how he does it with this squad. I really don't. But he hasn't. And he hasn't got a lot of time. He really needs to start moving along with this now. What have we got? 4 games in January. I see us beating Wigan. I don't see us beating Spurs. And I think that could be it. I mean, he's definitely gone if he doesn't beat Wigan. The FA Cup is his only hope right now. For Manchester United to have a cup run, it could salvage everything for Ten Hag. It could. But if he goes out of the FA Cup, then sorry, Eric. I don't think even the hardened Erik Ten Hag in us would forgive that. We can't completely blame the players every single week. There has to be a difference. You've got players there that will play for you, that are chomping at the bit to come on. He just won't change it. He won't change it. He's stubborn in his approach. Rage United says, Bayindir, Dello, Varane, Evans, Shaw, Mainu, Casemiro, Mount, Ahmad, Garnacho, Højlund. I would go with that. I'd have Bruno on the bench. Don't think he needs to play against Wigan. I think it's the perfect opportunity for Ten Hag to rest Bruno Fernandes. Give him a full-on rest because he looks knackered. He looks out of ideas and he looks like he's completely lost his way. So I would leave Bruno out completely until Spurs. He doesn't need to play against Wigan. And I would go with that team that Ray's done there as well. I would be happy with that as a United fan. 100%. Spurs match is my 60th birthday. Really, Alien? 60? You? It's a lot of Stella, that, mate. It really is. How he deflected his mistake by subbing Mainu for McTominay reminds me of how Mourinho deflected his mistakes of using Fellaini and McTominay. Like deja vu. Rinse and repeat, Patrick. Exactly right. Ten Hag's responses in the press conference and questions from seasoned reporters and media who have seen this United team fail season after season after season. You can understand why the writing is all going down the same avenue right now with the media and Ten Hag. He's using the injuries as an excuse right now, even though he says it's not an excuse. It isn't going to make much of a difference. He has got a good enough team there to select right now. He didn't use the excuse about the squad when he beat Villa or Chelsea or get the draw against Liverpool. He's used the excuse when he's lost every single game. It comes out. Consistency. We need to be better. We'll have a better balance when we've got all our players back from injury. Everyone knows we have all these injuries. We know we've got injuries, Eric. We know we've got a lot of injuries, but we also know that with these injuries, we've still managed to beat Chelsea and Villa and get a decent draw against Liverpool. So what's the excuse against poorer teams like Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth and West Ham? No disrespect. They're actually playing better than us right now. But why is it so different in response to questions after you've won than it is when we've lost? It is an excuse. There's no other way. There's no other way you can explain it. It's an excuse, and he's running out of time. He's running out of ideas, and everyone is seeing through his replies and his responses right now. He cannot break down what happened in the game. He hasn't got the vocabulary, and that is that language barrier as well, which isn't his fault. He cannot explain what's going on. The heat of the moment, straight into that press conference after a game, he's struggling. He's struggling big time, but I don't think he'll have, if he carries on the way he's going, I don't think he'll have a chance to rectify any of that. I'll get better at answering them questions. He's in deep water right now. I don't know how he gets out of it personally, apart from making some big calls and changing things up. He needs to drop some big name players and stop relying on them. Or does he completely have to change? Does he have to completely change his approach and his style of play? Right now, as a United fan, I couldn't tell you what Erik Ten Hag's style of play is. I don't know what his approach is, how he's playing, what the players are supposed to be doing. I have no idea at all. And it's like, you can say he can do this, he can do that, but at the end of the day, like we said at the top of this show, Mason Mount, 60 million. Antony, 85 million. These are his players. They're supposed to be our creative players that he's brought in to make Manchester United better. They are goal-scoring forwards, creative forwards. He spent £150 million on, and he cannot figure out a way to use them in this team. It's his fault that them players are at this football club. Them two in particular, they're his signings. If he cannot make them work, then he has to hold his hands up and say he is a major part of this problem, which is Manchester United right now as well. Own up to it and change it up. Start playing Mason Mount. Let's see what he's got. Play him in his right position. He may do better than Bruno Fernandes for a few weeks. He may come off the boil, but then you've got a fit and raring to go Bruno Fernandes with a point to prove to come straight back into this team. So drop Bruno Fernandes and put Mason Mount there. Or play Eriksen in the number 10, where he is more adaptable. Can be a little clever player that we thought we were bringing in. The one that we seen against Aston Villa. But while Eriksen is playing deeper and running up and down the pitch, you're taking away that one good point of his game that a lot of this team don't have, which is that composure and that calmness on the ball, which you need in that number 10 role sometimes. Bruno is erratic at the moment, and I feel just needs to be dropped out, pressure taken off, out of the limelight. Because the more he plays him, the more issues he's going to cause for Bruno Fernandes, and he's just going to go deeper and deeper and deeper into the mire, and I don't think he's helping any of his players right now. He's not helping Rashford. Rashford needs to come out completely. Rashford just needs to play on the left. I feel if Garnacho is playing well, Rashford has to sit out until Garnacho has an off day. Be a big manager at a big football club. Tell them who they're playing for. Tell them that they're playing for Manchester United. You're not playing well. You're on the bench. Deal with it. Otherwise, the inmates are going to carry on running the asylum. You're going to have a problem. Everything is going to conspire against you, behind your back, and you will be the next manager. Chapter 4, Manchester United manager out the door. Guys, that is it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Absolutely brilliant show as always. I'm loving the conversation in the chat. I can see all of your messages coming through. I will get through more of them comments in the show this evening. We'll bring you guys in a little bit more, but just wanted to get that message across, and that early doors in 2024. Breaking everything down, what happened in the show and what we've been talking about, how Ten Hag deals with the mess that he's got right now and the players that he's brought in. Ineos will not be backing him in January. He has to make this work. Donny van der Beek has been confirmed by the football club he's leaving. He has gone out on loan to Frankfurt with an option to buy at the end if everything goes well there. Good luck to Donny van der Beek. But guys, that is it. Thank you very much. It has been a roller coaster. The first video of 2024 is done and dusted. Thank you so much for all of your comments, contributions, super chats, all the new members as well. Great start to 2024. Long may it continue. I will see you all at 6:30 tonight. Have a great New Year's Day, first day of the year, and I will see you all this evening. Like, share, and subscribe as always. Thank you for tuning in, everyone.